Alright, good evening folks, it's Enforcer Matt, and welcome back to another short war video, and today we have some very big news from Russia, Ukraine, and the United States, and let's jump right into it. And starting off with our biggest news of the day, air raid sirens are sounding across Ukraine as Russia launches a massive attack just hours before the Alaska meeting with the United States. We've also seen Ukraine launched a large counterattack, striking another large Russian refinery and also military sites. Meanwhile, Ukraine has targeted, destroyed, and sunk a Russian ship, which the Ukrainian military says was carrying Iranian weapons to Russia. And we also have news that Ukraine has not only cut off the Russian advance near Dnipro, but they've now begun pushing the Russians out of the area in a major development. So we have very big news this morning, and also Vladimir Putin is arriving in Alaska as this video is being published. So we have big news from every front, and let's jump right into our first article, which goes to BNO News Live. So this is some of our biggest news of the day. Right now we're hearing that a nationwide air raid alert across Ukraine has been sounded, including Kyiv, just hours before the Putin-Trump summit. So this is obviously not a good start. Russia's going into peace talks in Alaska while they're launching massive attacks on civilians across Ukraine in another really terrible attack. So let's take a listen to the video and hear the air raid sirens going off literally just hours before this meeting is supposed to take place in Alaska. And you can see this appears to be Kyiv, and you can hear in the background the air raid sirens going off as this meeting is literally just hours away in Alaska and Anchorage between the United States president and Vladimir Putin himself. And this shows us that Vladimir Putin is not serious about peace and really don't expect anything to come out of this meeting in Alaska because it's pretty much a dead end all the way around. So here we're seeing it. Russia is once again right back to their tactics of attacking civilians across Ukraine right as they're discussing peace. But with that, we're now moving on to our next article here, and this one goes to Status 6 Military and Conflict News. And we did see as a result of these Russian strikes that apparently at least 2 Iskander KN-23 ballistic missiles hit the outskirts of the Ukrainian city of Dnipro just now. So we can see right here in our pictures, there's obviously some smoke coming up from the area, and it looks like Ukraine did crop the picture out so you couldn't see the ground, so that way you can't geolocate exactly where this is, but we do see a lot of smoke rising up there in the city of Dnipro. And also over here as well, you can see some more smoke in another cropped picture showing more damage in the city. So obviously they're using Iskanders once again. Those are very potent ballistic missiles to strike around the area where civilians are located yet again right before the peace talks. So once again, it goes without saying that's a terrible start. But moving on to our next one here, this one goes to Anton Gerashenko. In the meantime, while Russia's launching that massive attack, we saw the Russian Telegram channels reporting that Putin's motorcade stopped in Magadan on the way to Alaska, and as usual, the streets have been completely cleared out for his massive motorcade because even in his home country of Russia, he is so worried about his safety, he has to go around in like a 100 to a 200 car convoy basically to keep himself safe. So let's take a look at this clown show right here that's about to take place, and Putin going through the streets of Russia on the way to the airport to fly out to Alaska. So there you can see it. This is the Russian city of Magadan, and as you can see right here, the Russian police cars are clearing out the streets, and which are already pretty much completely cleared out. They pre-cleared them before he even got here. But you can see there are a bunch of more vehicles following behind them, and this is a humongous motorcade. This is how large they usually are inside of Russia. Once again, Putin fears for his safety so much, he needs all these police cars with him. But there is the main car that Putin is in right there in the center. It's that very ugly looking Russian limo right there. He likes to ride around in that, and also he gifted one to Kim Jong-un in North Korea as well. But this is the convoy, and that was him actually heading to the airport. But we have one more video from the ground. Let's take a look. And you can see right there, there's a view from the ground of the same convoy going through Magadan. And also the very pitiful sounding Russian siren, but there goes Putin right there. He's on his way out to a pointless meeting to once again try to brainwash the Western officials into giving up Ukraine. So there he goes, and there goes the ugly limo right there. That thing is truly ugly. I'm being perfectly honest about that. I really think that's very hideous, but this is the convoy. So moving on from that video right there, moving on to our next post, this one goes to Conflict Radar, and we also saw that Putin's plane is already about to land in Anchorage as this video is being put out. And by the time this video is published, he'll definitely be in Alaska. He'll be landed, and he'll be there at the Air Force Base. So we see right here, this is the Russia Special Flight Squadron aircraft, and it was going from Magadan to Anchorage. So that is indeed the plane that Putin is on that is heading over there for that meeting. So we did see there in Flight Radar 24 that plane going toward the area. But moving on to our next post here, this one goes to War Translated, and we also saw the barracks in which the Russian journalists are being housed in Alaska. Apparently they're being housed in a local stadium instead of a hotel. hotel where makeshift barracks with folding cots and semi-transparent partitions were set up for them. And it sounds like the Russians were expecting the Ritz-Carlton. They didn't quite get that because honestly they don't deserve the Ritz-Carlton. These are, well, of course, people from an enemy state right now, so we're not trying to put them up in our finest hotels, but we gave them some cots. It looks like from maybe the Red Cross perhaps on the little placard right there, and also some very makeshift accommodations for them to sleep in, but only the bare minimum. And honestly, that's probably all we should be giving at this point. So let's take a look. And the Russians saying, oh, interesting. Well, it's very Spartan conditions here. He said something from the Red Cross. Oh, look at that. Some supplies for him. He said, yeah, that's how it is. Everyone's got a little pillow and a towel. Oh, boo-hoo. Womp womp. He said, there are the partitions. And he's obviously going around here saying, this is where the journalists will sleep. This is where he's going to sleep. The night before the big summit. And once again, he was expecting the Ritz, but he didn't quite get that. Also, you can see here, it looks like, I will be honest, it's pretty Spartan. And also, they put out like the fairgrounds dumpsters right there for people to throw their trash in. So this is pretty Spartan, but like I said, it's pretty much all that's required for this meeting, the bare minimum. But moving on to our next one here, this one goes to none other than Status 6 military and conflict news. And we've also seen that Russia's top negotiator and Putin's special envoy, Kirill Dmitriev, appears to be enjoying his trip to the United States, and to my surprise, the Russian delegation is allowed to pretty much go wherever they want in Alaska. They're free to roam around wherever, despite being basically enemy representatives. So on his Instagram page, he published a video of his encounter with a bear in the Alaskan forest, and it looks like this Russian negotiator almost got mauled by a bear out here in Alaska because he got super close to it, and I don't know what their deal is with getting close to bears, but this is of course a wild bear that he just approached, so he's kind of lucky the bear didn't try to go after him. So let's take a look. So as you can see right there, there's a bear right there drinking water, and here's the Russian negotiators walking up to the bear, like in the wild right here. There you can see, there also appears to be a fisherman down the way. So there goes the bear right there. It looks like the fisherman's unbeknownst to bears behind him, but the Russian negotiator was apparently going to walk up to the bear before he ran off, and then he was shocked the bear ran off. So I'm not sure what the deal is with like these Russian diplomats trying to be bear whisperers, but that usually doesn't work out very well because of course these are wild animals, but you know, I guess if that happened and the bear mauled him, they'd be trying to blame the United States for that. But anyways, there's the negotiator running around. But our next post here goes to polymarket intel. And in the meantime, the Alaskans are not happy whatsoever about the enemy combatants being on U.S. soil because pro-Ukraine demonstrators have gathered in Anchorage, Alaska ahead of the Trump-Putin meeting, and they are on the streets and they are lining the streets and letting their voice be heard. And I love to see that they have the banners up talking about all the Ukrainian children that Russia has abducted and taken into their custody and have not been returned to Ukraine because, of course, these are all unresolved issues that Russia has committed. They are war crimes, and I'm glad to see that Americans are on the street letting their voices be heard, that we are not in support of a war criminal coming to our country. So this is good to see, so let's take a look. So as you can see, here's all the people on the sides of the streets, and they got their banners up, they got the Ukraine flags flying, and they are letting their voices be heard. And this is what America looks like, the freedom of protest and the freedom to have your voice heard. And these are the people right here on the street letting their voice be known, and also letting Vladimir Putin know that America does not stand with Russia, and that we are totally against their war against Ukraine. So very good to see once again, and this is a protest in action that is very, very productive to see. So I like to see that, and once again, the Alaskans are not happy whatsoever about this. So very good to see. But also at the same time, while the Alaskans are not happy, we are also moving on to our next post here, which goes to conflict radar. We have seen the U.S. Air Force has increased airspace security of Alaska, and I'm glad to see they're taking that precaution because, of course, we're having enemy country planes flying into our airspace. So you can see here a Boeing E-3 Sentry flying around the area and running surveillance. So another good thing as well, they are running some type of surveillance, so hopefully we keep that up and make sure we keep a sharp eye on where the Russians are staying, where they're going, etc., while they're here on our soil. But with that, moving on to our next post here, this one goes to Status 6 military and conflict news once again, and we've got news of a massive explosion inside of Russia, and this time it's one of their gunpowder plants, which has completely destroyed an entire area around the plant. This is crazy, but let's jump right into it. And we can see here a heavy explosion and fire at the Elastic gunpowder plant located in the Ryazan Oblast in western Russia on Friday occurred. At least 5 people were eliminated according to Russian media, and the cause is yet to become known, but this explosion was huge. This was a gunpowder plant, so obviously a lot of flammables here at this location. But let's take a look at our videos, see this explosion, and then I'm going to show you the aftermath of it, because the aftermath is almost hard to fathom. But let's take a look at our explosion videos here and then see what happened. So there's the first video right here. This is showing you the huge fire that resulted from it and some of the explosion actually, but there is the very first video, not showing you very much, but you can see it's obviously a pretty large explosion, but that is the first video. But let's take a look at our second. And here we have an on-the-ground perspective of this explosion right here. You see it appears to be right from a Russian neighborhood, and right over there in the distance is that huge explosion with all that smoke, which probably has some chemicals in it, some pretty bad chemicals, being put right into the atmosphere. So there it is happening right here in the Ryazan Oblast, and a very big explosion. But here's the part that's going to get everybody. This is the part right here that's shocking, is the aftermath of it. So let's go ahead and jump right into that, which goes to status 6 once again. And the result of the explosion was a total wasteland around the facility, and this was so large it literally flattened the area nearby. So let's take a look at this video and see this wild aftermath as a result of it. It's really crazy. And holy crap, look at that. There are literally concrete pillars, like torn up trees. This looks worse than a hurricane or something coming through. This is some severe damage right here, and this is all a result of that explosion that we saw at the gunpowder facility. So let me look at that. There's some more concrete pillars. There are some remains of buildings, a fence which is completely knocked over and all crooked now. I mean, this is a lot of damage around this facility, and also there's the fire raging right there from it still. So a very big loss for the Russians. They needed that gunpowder facility to be operational to make their artillery and other ammunition, and right now it has officially been taken out. So a very big hit right before the Alaska talks by Ukraine. But jumping into our next post here, this one goes to War Translated. Also, we've gotten another wild report today that apparently the Ukrainian Special Operations Forces struck the Olya seaport in Russia's Astrakhan region yesterday, and the General Staff reports that the port is a key hub for military supplies from Iran, and the vessel, Port Olya 4, was allegedly loaded with Shahed drone parts and munitions. But the one thing that was confirmed is it was struck by the Ukrainians, and here is that ship right here in the picture. This is the ship which is allegedly carrying the Iranian supplies according to the Ukrainian military, and we see right here, there is the length of the strike, 650 kilometers away from the Ukrainian border, all the way down into Astrakhan, and took it out down here in the port. So this was a big catch by Ukraine and a very big hit. So let's jump into our next post here, because we've actually gotten a picture of what has happened to this ship right here, and this is a photo that appeared online reportedly showing the vessel hit at Port Olya, and look at that thing. I mean, it's literally sunk. This thing is sunk, and look, it's charred on the top of the deck right there in the bridge. This thing is in foul shape and allegedly carrying Iranian drone parts to Russia. So this was struck right in the port, and this is a very big sinking of a ship by the Ukrainian military that they actually successfully pulled off. So it's certainly been a minute before we've seen Ukraine sink a ship that's Russian, but let's jump into our next post here, because I've got a video for you showing you the damage, and this is a truly remarkable video as well. We've gotten a video here from Astrakhan allegedly showing the Port Olya 4 sinking in the water. It looks like it's maybe about to turn nighttime, about to turn dark here in Russia, and it looks like some Russian got out in their kayak or canoe, and they decided to go out and take a little look. So let's take a look at the video and see the damage. And as you can see right here, this is the view from the canoe in Astrakhan. There's the front of the bow, and right back here, there is the bridge, completely submerged in the water, only a little part of it right there at the very top sticking out of the water. And these Russians are in their kayak or canoe or whatever, and they're filming this thing, and you can see it. This thing is clearly sunk. It must be shallow water in here, because it looks like it's sunk all the way it possibly can, but that thing is confirmed to be destroyed. It's obviously not going to be sailing anytime soon, and it looks like the Russians have successfully converted another vessel into a submarine right here in their port. That's going to be a very hard recovery operation for that, because it's right here in the port and very hard to get to. So it looks like to me, also big thanks to these Russians right here for taking this video, because otherwise we wouldn't see this actual up close right here from the water, but it looks like they've definitely taken it out. So a very big hit by Ukraine once again, and another damage to these supplies coming into Russia as well. But with that, it's now time to move on to our next one here, and this one goes to Max 25 yet again. And also, guess what was hit last night as well? Another Russian oil refinery. This time it is the Syrzan oil refinery, and this one was hit in a spectacular fashion, literally right on the smack dab middle of the oil refinery. And we have a panorama view this morning showing this refinery on fire, and right now there is a very large percentage of Russian oil being taken out by Ukraine in a very short period of time over the last 2 weeks, and Russian oil is being assaulted very heavily, and the assault is continuing. That's the big thing as well. So let's take a look here and see the damage. So there you can see it. That is the Syrzan oil refinery right there you're seeing on camera. There's all the smoke coming up from it. It looks like probably 2 or 3 points of impact, and there's one impact literally right there next to the largest smokestack that is on this oil refinery. So clearly, multiple hits. The air defense is all around Putin's mansions. They're not around the oil refineries, and thankfully for the Ukrainians, that makes it very easy to hit. So it looks like Syrzan is out of action, at least temporarily, once again, with all the other refineries also being smacked at the same time. So a very big hit once again by Ukraine. But with that, we're now moving on to our next one here, and this one goes to War Translated, and we've got some big news off the front lines, and this is news right here that's going to shock a lot of people about the Russian advance, which occurred just a couple of days ago. It looks like the Ukrainians are now pushing the Russians back, which was not expected whatsoever. We were merely expecting the Ukrainians to stop the advance and put it basically halted in its place, but the Ukrainians are now pushing the Russians out of the entire region, which was a revolutionary change because we were not expecting that whatsoever. And we can see here in the post, the Ukrainian forces pushed back Russian troops advancing on Dnipro in the Donetsk region, according to Deep State, and analysts say that Russian units were repelled near Rubezhny, Zolotsy, Kolydiaz, Vesele, Volny, Shakaovi, and also some other places as well, and they cut off a wedge the Russians had driven into Ukrainian lines days earlier. So here you can see right there, it is officially cut off, and in fact, it looks like the Ukrainians have done such a good job at pushing the Russians back that it could be that some Russian troops are about to get encircled by the Ukrainians in a huge move. So some people are saying this was the Ukrainian plan all along, and they're simply carrying it out, and now they're pulling off their trap on the Russians. Whatever the case is, though, this has turned into a big success for Ukraine, and they've turned a negative into a positive. So it looks like Ukraine is doing very well in this region, and Putin's plan to suddenly rush into this area and take some land, it turned out to have backfired on him quite a bit, actually, going into the Alaska talks today. So very good news to see. So with that, folks, that is actually our last piece of news of the video. But before you go, smack the like button and also subscribe to the channel as well for more real-time updates just like this one. And also, be sure to join us tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern. We have a lot of news to cover tonight, and obviously, we have Putin landing in Alaska. We've got the talks coming up. We've got a lot of stuff happening, and also these attacks are really ramping up between Ukraine and Russia at the exact same time. So be sure to join us for that, and we'll cover everything else throughout the day and talk about it with everybody in the chat on the stream tonight. And also, by the way, if you want to support the channel financially, you can do so on our Patreon page, and the link is in the description below for Patreon, where you can go over there and sign up for a monthly membership and support the channel with even $5 a month. That's a huge help as well, and we appreciate every single one of our Patreon supporters very much. And of course, we will see you all tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern, and the news is quite crazy today. And thank you all for watching, and bye-bye for now.